People, you read the title, Ottawa versus Vancouver. Who's winning the cup first? Let's do this.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks. My name is Kyle Bowen, but more importantly, this show right here is the show where we give you your Canucks, not your team, baby, your Canucks every day. Make sure to subscribe and hit the like button if you do enjoy this video, this short video on your Canucks, and leave us a review wherever you listen to this on that podcasting/podcatching platform of yours. Before we get to the conversation above, I got to let you know, Trevor Beggs not joining us today. Contract dispute with Locked On Canucks. Does Trevor really have a family? Or has he been holding out / being a part-time reporter because of a contract dispute? I'm gonna have to let him answer that question, okay? Let us know in the comments below if you do believe, though, that Trevor Beggs does deserve to make $25 more a month, courtesy of his efforts here on Locked On Canucks. Speaking of those comments, I'm going to need the comments to go off on today's episode because I need support. The Vancouver Canucks need support in the debate above. For real, Ottawa versus Vancouver. Who is going to win a Stanley Cup first? And we had one of the fans of Locked On Senators. Speaking of fans of Locked On Senators, I'm a big fan. A big fan of Ross and Brandon. They're legends, yo, for real. They're incredible brothers and human beings, and wishing them all the best this season. That being said, I can't take the slander, okay? One of their fans, they ran a poll, and I know the bias is clear. Okay? This guy probably has a bunch of Ottawa Senators fans, but he asked the question, right? Who is going to win a Stanley Cup first, the Canucks or the Senators? And I do believe he almost got 300 votes, and I do believe the Ottawa Senators picked up 97% of those votes. So like I said, I need support. We need support. The city, the team needs support. Answer that question, okay, below. And I hope you give the right answer, okay? I hope the West Coast bias is in your blood. I know we got to be realistic, but that bias and that spirit, it goes a long way too. Let us know in the comments below who is going to win a Stanley Cup first, the Vancouver Canucks and the Ottawa Senators. Now, that is pretty important because this episode is mainly being used as a prompt / precursor for what is to come, and that's a debate between Locked On Senators and Locked On Canucks. Now, is that confirmed? Is that debate going to happen? Is there a set date? Not really. It's been talked about, but I'm challenging the boys. All right, West Coast versus East Coast, kind of, right? Let's do it. And I think it's a debate that isn't that one-sided, okay? It's not 97% one-sided for that team in the East, okay? We're talking about two teams. And yeah, maybe one team has a little bit more star power than the other, but we're talking about two teams who both clearly don't know how to win. And I don't care if you're locking up players at the right term, like Ottawa is doing with 5 of their players, making $8 million for 8 years and blah, blah, blah. Jake Sanderson, Norris, Kachuk, Tim Sutzla. Is that how you say it? Thomas Shabbat. Yeah, a nice crop of players that you've locked up for a very long time. We didn't do that with Pettersson and company, but it doesn't really matter. Does it really matter? Because y'all don't know how to win. And I would argue that even though it may be in theory a smart move to get ahead of it, before these players have satisfied their thirst of winning is a little scary. That problem has to be out there just a bit. I know that might be a little hypocritical because I've been saying for days and days and days and days and days, right? Your Canucks every day, that the Canucks should lock up Pettersson long term, give him a blank check, blah, blah, blah. But the situation's a little different, okay? We're a little bit more desperate, and Pettersson is on that third contract negotiation of his, sort of, right? The entry level, the bridge, and now the the third deal. I'm sorry. Whereas for Ottawa, a lot of these guys are signing this mega deal as their second deal. And again, a little bit odd because do you really want to be giving the players everything before they start to win, right? And I know it's not about the money, and these are competitive guys, competitive athletes. I think I saw a quote from Jake Sanderson saying that, he saw what everyone else was doing in Ottawa and how they want to stay long term and how they want to be committed to winning a cup. But man, oh man, how is the psyche of a player changed just a little bit when they've already been paid a lot, max dollars, pretty much. Is there a chance that they lose some of that competitive bite because they have it locked up? Do they have a Stanley Cup locked up? Do they have the wins locked up? No, but they have that other thing, right? Your family's taken care of. Is there a possibility of some competitive edge being taken off the top? I think so. I think so. That early. Am I being a little petty? Maybe. 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 Am I being a little jealous? Maybe. But I think I'm also on to something. Rewarding a player that early in their career. Hey, rewarding a bunch of players that early in their career. Again, getting ahead of it, but also doing so before winning is a little off. And I know we've been talking about the Stanley Cup, but come on. Come on. The Senators are just like the Canucks. They can't even win regular season games. They can't even do the first thing on the checklist. So, yeah, even though the Senators have a little bit more depth at the top of their lineup, they still don't know how to win. I think the debate is down the middle. Now, let's touch a little bit more on that top end talent. Again, Ottawa may have more quantity, but if we're comparing the quality, I do believe Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson are 1 and 2 if we're talking about those 7 players, right? It's Pettersson, it's Hughes, it's Tim, it's Timmy or Kachuk, vice versa. It's Shabbat, it's Norris, it's Sanderson. You know what I'm saying? We still have the best guys, and there has to be some of that used in leverage in this debate. I think it's actually the only thing we have in this debate, Pettersson and Hughes. It's just the truth. Anyways, let us know in the comments below who is going to win a Stanley Cup first, okay? Give us some ammo for this debate that may happen in a couple of weeks because I think it'll get heated, and I think Trevor Beggs will bring the juice, and Ross and Brandon, y'all are going down. Y'all are going down. All right? All right? Anywho, on the other side, again, a short episode of Locked On Canucks. We'll be talking about Pettersson's contract again. Is there something to learn from the Senators? I truly do believe so. I know the situations are different, but can Pettersson set the tone with his contract and allow other people to follow when their contracts are up? Right, Quinn Hughes. I'm looking way down the road. Tom Willander, etc. Right. We got to talk about it, but first.
If you want to be one of the best looking guys out there, you got to wear the Birddogs, Kyle and I, we're both getting older. We're getting grumpier. We're getting crustier. That's why we got to slap on the Birddogs, okay? True story. I was about to come to my job today. No, I dress nice for my job, okay? You see, like, if you're on YouTube, you see the nice white collar shirt.
Dude, you're a DILF. You're a DILF.
Got some turquoise pants on right now.
Trevor, you're a good-looking dad, bro. You're a good-looking dad.
I try my best. I try my best. But I'm telling you what, I wanted to come to work in Birddogs. I know, obviously, my clients, my coworkers would have been okay with it because I'd be looking sexy.
Ooh.
But guess what? My wife wouldn't let me leave the house because I look too sexy when I'm wearing my Birddogs, okay? So if you want to see what all the hype is about, make sure you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or enter promo code LockedOn. Oh, it's actually promo code LockedOn XXX, okay?
Whoa.
At checkout for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOn facebook.com/LockedOnXXX for a free water bottle at checkout. You don't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise ya.
Yo, what does the triple X stand for? They really doing the locked on promo code like triple X, man. They really selling that whole sex thing. That's
Oh
nice,
no.
man. Sex sells. What? You got it
I
wrong?
think I have to redo it.
No, just add it right here, bro. It's all good.
Okay.
It's all good.
You know what? Okay, later on in this ad read, it is Locked On NHL. Okay, this
It's
ad read is
locked on
confusing, man.
NHL.
Okay,
There
the
you
Locked
go,
On
man.
XXX is depending on the channel, so it is Locked On NHL. Okay, make sure you're supporting Locked On NHL, not one of those other leagues out there on the Locked On Network. Locked On NHL, baby.
People, before we get back to the show, baby, I gotta tell you that new episodes of Locked On Canucks will be available wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all, okay? New episodes every day at 4:20 p.m. Again, wherever you stream podcasts and on YouTube. Let's get back to the show. Okay, you're back on another episode, a bonus episode of Locked On Canucks, where we give you your Canucks every day. My name is Kyle Bowen. Again, Trevor Beggs chose his family over you. Or, again, is he in a contract dispute with Locked On? Who knows? And another reminder, okay? Let's get the debate going. Who was going to win a Stanley Cup first? The Vancouver Canucks or the Ottawa Senators? Let us know in the comments below. Let's take it a step further. Let's rank those 7 players, okay? Let's do it. Quinn, Hughes, Pettersson, Tim Stützle, am I saying that right? Brady Tkachuk, Jake Sanderson, Norris, and Thomas Chabot. Because I feel as if that's where, well, that's actually all the ammo we have in this debate. Unless Trevor Beggs can really think of something, okay? Because it's 5 against 2. But can our 2 be that much better than those 5? Can they? I think so, because they're that damn good. That damn good. For real. I think I'm a little passionate about this debate as well because of Pierre Dorion. And it wasn't that long ago where Jim Benning, the worst GM of sports, was right there with Pierre Dorion as, again, being one of the worst GMs in sport. I just felt that energy. Both felt as if they were pretty clueless when it came to being a GM and managing their situations. Now, I don't know if it's a collective thing based on what I've seen on Twitter, but Pierre Dorion is kind of turning the page, kind of. Again, without the wins, which is really scary. Really scary. It's really scary when a GM can survive for this long, yet be responsible for the future of the team like this, because he's locking up his people long term. And if the Ottawa Senators don't get it together this year, like they just, like, the next step for the Senators, for Dorion and the management group and the coach and whatnot to survive, like, the next step for them has to be making the playoffs. It's not finishing 9th and being competitive. No, it's like making the playoffs. That's what the Senators fans deserve too. They deserve the best, right? We're not talking about Arizona here. Ottawa deserves the best also, and they deserve real stuff, real wins, real hope. And if they don't make the playoffs, I don't think it's going to surprise anyone if Dorion gets fired. And it's kind of awkward because you're stuck with his core. Again, a GM you just fired, you're stuck with his core forever. Forever. Now, is it a little different than the damage Benning did before he left and got fired, a la OEL, etc.? Of course, because Benning screwed up with guys like, again, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, Louis Eriksson. Maybe you can argue with Connor Garland as well, and etc. Whereas Dorion is taking chances on really young players who have played 77 NHL games, but also at one point made Ottawa that team when it came to prospect rankings across the league, right? They were towards the top because of, again, their top end talent. Now, before I do leave you, I do got to say, whatever Ottawa has been doing has been making me think about the future of the Vancouver Canucks and how people may follow what Pettersson may do with his next contract, right? Will he set the tone? Remember that tone that was set way back when with Henrik and Daniel and company and Kessler and company when the Canucks were good? Will Pettersson take a little bit less, sign long term, so other people may do the same? So that when Quinn Hughes, right, when his contract expires in a couple years, he'll sign long term and take a bit of a pay cut. Will Thatcher Demko do the same thing after already being somewhat underpaid during this contract of his? Maybe, maybe. But I do believe the answer is yes, a definite yes, if Pettersson takes less. It's a big contract. It really shapes the future for this franchise. If Pettersson takes less, will Tom Willander take less in 5 years when his entry level deal is expiring? I know I'm getting ahead of it, but you got to think about these things. You got to think about these things when you're dealing with a team that hasn't come close to winning. And when you're dealing with a team that plays in Vancouver. Yes, the goal is to win the Stanley Cup, but before that, the goal is to make sure you're competitive and given the chance to compete for the Stanley Cup for years and years and years and years. And it's easier to do that when your top end players are just taking a little bit less. And that's, in theory, if all goes super well in Ottawa, that is what Ottawa and that core is doing. In 2 or 3 years, if they get the most out of those guys, those contracts are going to be looking phenomenal. And those contracts are going to be lasting until those players are, what, 28, 29? That's a long time. That's a long time. Anywho, that was another episode of Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. Had to do it, okay? No Trevor, no problem. We have to keep up with the promise, right? Your team / your Canucks every day. On that note, we were actually told that we don't have to go back to full time practice, full time production till September 18th. That's what the ups are dealing with / dishing out. Don't work that hard, but start working that hard on September 18th. Go back to 5 days a week. That being said, for the third time, this is not Arizona. This is not Locked On Coyotes. I'm not taking shots. I'm just saying it's different. There's levels to this stuff. There's levels to this stuff. And the city is hungry. The city is passionate and a little desperate. And we want to relate and connect with those people on the daily. So I think Trevor and I are actually meeting for a beer or two at 33 Acres. Shout out to Vancouver, shout out to 33 Acres in a couple of hours. And we're going to talk about the rest of September and just gearing up in general for the season, man. I'm really excited to start things off for the people, for the fans of the show, and talk Canucks every day. For, again, the people. Speaking of the people, let us know in the comments below, okay? Who is winning the Stanley Cup first? The Vancouver Canucks and the Ottawa Senators. Give us some ammo. Give us some production, because this debate, it's going to be a little one-sided compared to that poll that Ottawa Senators fan ran, okay? Give us some juice. Give us some leverage. And if the people at Locked On Senators, right, Brandon and Ross are watching this, it's on. The debate is on, okay? Let's get it. It's not going to be an easy one, all right? Screw the poll. Ignore the poll. It's not going to be easy. By the time it's done, we're going to convince you, yes, convince you that the West Coast, the best coast of Canada, is going to win a Stanley Cup first. Shout out to Birddogs, shout out to AG1, shout out to FanDuel. Let's get out of here. Shout out to the people. Have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good night. We don't know when you're watching this or listening to this, but we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.